Chapter 32. The great news of Patay was carried over the whole of France in 20 hours, people said. I do not know as to that, but one thing is sure, anyway. The moment a man got it, he flew shouting and glorifying God and told his neighbor, and that neighbor flew with it to the next homestead, and so on, without resting, the word traveled. And when a man got to it in the night, and what the hour soever, he jumped out of his bed and bore the blessed message along. And the joy that went with it was like the light that flows across the land when an eclipse is receding from the face of the sun. And, indeed, you may say that France had lain in an eclipse this long time. Yes, buried in a black gloom which these beneficent tidings were sweeping away now before the onrush of their white splendor. The news beat the fleeing enemy to Yeovil, and the town rose against its English masters and shut the gates against their brethren. It flew to Montpepot, to Saint Simon, and to this, that, and the other English fortress. And straightway the garrison applied the torch and took to the fields and the woods. The detachment of our army occupied Meung and pillaged it. When we reached Orleans, that town was as much as 50 times insaner with joy than we had ever seen it before, which is saying much. Night had just fallen, and the illuminations were on so wonderful a scale that we seemed to plow through seas of fire. And as to the noise, the hoarse cheering of the multitude, the thundering cannon, the clash of bells, indeed, there was never anything like it. And everywhere rose a new cry that burst upon us like a storm when the column entered the gates and never more ceased. Welcome to Joan of Arc! Way for the Saviour of France! And there was another cry. Crécy is avenged! Poitiers is avenged! Agincourt is avenged! Patay shall live forever! Mad. Why, you never could imagine it in the world. The prisoners were in the center of the column. When that came along and the people caught sight of their masterful old Talbot that had made them dance so long to the grim war music, you may imagine what the uproar was like if you can, for I cannot describe it. They were so glad to see him that presently they wanted to have him out and hang him, so Joan had him brought up to the front to ride in her protection. They made a striking pair.